I'm Adam.
I'm Dan.
And we are here to review and discuss Pacific Rim Uprising.
Yeah.
This is kind of neat because this is like the first review where we're actually filming it like right after we saw the film.
Yeah.
Because usually we take a couple of days before we actually film the review.
Yeah, but we just saw it not long ago.
Yeah. So basically, like, you're getting our initial thoughts here.
Yeah.
And I think initially it was pretty entertaining.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. Still haven't seen the first one, so I can't really compare them personally, but I imagine they're pretty similar. Like, I mean, this was entertaining. It wasn't anything mind-blowing or like, or like, oh my God, it was amazing. But it was a fun movie. It had, good action. It had upbeat atmosphere. And it's the sort of thing I like to see from my, popcorn sci-fi.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what I was looking for. Because, especially after in our last review I mentioned, it was kind of a running theme. The movies we've seen together this year were pretty mediocre and forgettable.
Yeah.
This one, I mean, I don't know. It's probably not going to make my best of the year list necessarily, unless we have a really bad year. but compared to those other movies, it's like I'm going to remember this one. It was something to look at and enjoy.
Like, all the action sequences in this film were vastly better, in my opinion, actually, than the first movie. They're a lot longer for starters. In the first film, all the kaiju battles were all kind of brief. Mm-hmm. They weren't actually really that long. Whereas this one, like not only do you have them fighting kaiju, the giant monsters, but you also have them fighting other robots.
Yeah.
So it actually mixes it up a little bit. So you do get a little bit of variety. And some of those action sequences are fucking really a lot of fun to watch. Almost like watching like a fucking samurai ninja like film, basically. Like that's how good like the action sequences were, the fight scenes were, with like them like doing like these acrobatics and shit like that, and like basically fighting with like swords and shit. Like, it was a lot of fun to watch.
And to speak to the technology of it, I suspect that a lot of that was probably motion captured too. Because like, I mean, it's obviously CGI, but like it looked really fluid.
It did.
And it looked like they were actually doing martial arts moves too. So.
Yeah. Like, basically, like, this film, the best way I could describe this film is what Power Rangers last year should have been.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, that's what this film is. This is what fucking, when we saw Power Rangers last year, that's what Power Rangers should have been. One of my favorite things about this film is the characters. The characters in the first film were kind of one-dimensional, and like, I'm not saying you didn't get to know the characters a lot or anything, but they were kind of like all just kind of one-note cliche characters. Whereas in this one, like, you got John Boyega, and John Boyega is just on his fucking game here. It's just being charming and likable and just a fun main character to follow as you're watching the film.
And they actually give him, it's not like an original story. It's not anything you haven't seen before, but they give him something, besides just, here's the new guy who is going to work with the robots now. Yeah. They give him something to do, and he does it, and he gives it his all. It's the thing. Like, he's clearly there to play this character.
Yeah, and like as opposed to like in the first one, like in the first film, the main character, like, he kind of had a tragic backstory of like he was a co-pilot of a Jaeger with his brother, and his whole thing is he stopped being a Jaeger pilot because his brother got killed while they were still connected. So that's why he doesn't want to get back in, because he can't go through that again.
Yeah.
But like in this film, it's like John Boyega, it also was a recruit to be a Jaeger pilot, but we find out got kicked out because of his behavior and because he was kind of like a loose cannon, kind of reckless, like just a reckless teen basically. And he's more or less doing this because he's kind of forced into it, but also to try to prove that he could live up to the expectations that his father, who was the character that Idris Elba played in the first film, he's trying to prove the expectations that his father had for him in this academy. Yeah. So you're kind of with him watching a redemption story, whereas in the last one, it's not really, the character wasn't really going through a redemption story. It's just more of like he's being pulled back in to something he didn't want to be involved with, at all at first,
The way they build it is like, he doesn't really want to be there, but at the same time you can see that like he has talent and skill for it, that maybe he's just ignoring, and once he starts getting a chance to show it, suddenly it starts to become important to him.
Yeah.
And I think part of that also is that it is very much John Boyega's movie. Like, I would say he's pretty solidly the main character.
Yeah,
but they do have, I mean, there's several characters in the movie, but they do give kind of a secondary character in a little girl, and she's brought in also as a recruit because she's like a prodigy who built her own smaller Jaeger, but fully functional and everything. And she built it, and like she gets brought in, and so she's got to prove herself, and prove that she can fit in and everything. And like they work well off each other because they're both kind of like outcasts in different ways, and then they bring out the best in each other essentially.
Yeah.
And like that was a good, and the other thing is that they have good chemistry together. John Boyega is a great actor. This other girl, I don't know the actress's name either. It's the first time I've seen her. She did pretty well.
These characters are very likable to the point where it's like I care about them and what they're going to go through and how they basically have to survive or get, basically go into battle and shit like that. I actually care about these characters. I don't want to see them perish. I want to see them succeed.
Yeah.
Whereas like I could be like, to be totally honest, in the first film, like I could actually really care less about any of those people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's not to say I didn't like the first film. I absolutely love the first film. I don't want to give it away, but I do like the twist that they take with Charlie Day's character. It was very unexpected, and I was not expecting it. He ends up being... in the first film, he is a big part of the first film, but he's kind of like the side note. Like, he's kind of like the side story to the main story. And he gives... he's the one who kind of provides a lot of the comic relief in the first film. Whereas in this film, he's basically in the film a lot more. He's more of a main character now in this one, and he's not really there for comic relief anymore. Like he's again, I don't want to give it away, like kind of like how the direction they go with this character, but he's there to like really kind of be in this film and be a big part of it.
Yeah.
And it works very, very well in some points, but in some points it doesn't. And I'm sorry, but like I'm trying to be as vague as possible because going more into it would just be treading on spoiler territory.
Yeah, and we do actually want to encourage you to see this one.
Yeah, so
because it was a good movie. But
so all I'll say is that they do go in an interesting route and an interesting twist with his character, but there are a couple of scenes and a couple like scenes and missteps that I think they could have taken more time with and maybe
and I think I can say this without giving too much away. It felt out of place with where the character was going previously to that.
Yeah.
Like I think I know the scenes you're talking about.
Yeah.
And like so like I actually agree that like the way they went with the character was cool, and it was nice to see him get to try something different. But then it felt like someone behind the scenes just said, "But I mean, it's Charlie Day. We got to let him be a little funny," and they pushed it too far.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Some of the negatives about the film. One of the things that I will say is that the film, there are parts that drag a little bit. This is a film that's about 2 hours, and like there are scenes in the film where like there might be some conversations or some interactions that kind of go a little too long and don't really go anywhere or don't really add anything. Like there's that whole thing with John Boyega's character and Eastwood's character where like there's a female recruit or pilot that they consistently bump into, and John Boyega keeps like kind of like looking at her, and he kind of like tells John Boyega like keep your eyes on the prize, or get your eyes off
she's
her ass,
mine,
stuff like that. And you're like, and like they have several scenes dedicated to this, but yet it doesn't go anywhere at all. It doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense because every time they do that, that's all the scenes are. There's no scenes with this female character or this actress with either of them like separately
alone,
or anything like that. It's just every so often she shows up and then like John Boyega's kind of looking at her.
And they snipe at each other over it. Yeah.
And that's really all it is. So like there's scenes like that where it's like it was kind of unnecessary, doesn't go anywhere, doesn't add anything. If anything, it just pads out the movie. And it's like you can easily take these scenes out.
Yeah.
Like
especially because
a lot better.
Especially because the rest of the backstory that's revealed between the two like establishes why they would have tension.
Yeah.
And like you don't need to add this in. Like it felt like they wanted to add it just to give like that extra layer, but it's like you don't need. Not only do you not need to add it, it almost doesn't make sense then because it's really not a spoiler to say they make amends. That's sort of the point of a movie like this.
Yeah.
But like and then like they make amends, but then there's still this one floating around, and it's like no, like don't leave that in there. Just take it out.
Yeah. The monsters do come back, and they do have a specific reason and way how they're coming back. It's just unfortunately like the way and the setup is really convoluted and kind of really complicated, and the film I don't think really explains a whole lot of it that well, because a lot of it is explained in like really quick session.
Yeah.
And then it's just kind of like, okay, now we're going to cut to John Boyega and see what he's up
and,
to.
And then if you do put it all together, it's not necessarily hard to put together, but it's all kind of like hand-wavy technobabble. Like, like the sort of stuff that like non-sci-fi nerds don't like about Star Trek.
Yeah.
When they say, you know, reverse the polarity, and like it's a couple of those.
Yeah.
Where like it's meaningless words that like if you're into sci-fi, you'll just accept it. But when you are watching a movie and you want it to be plausible, it just kind of takes you out of it. Like they're clearly just forcing it in.
It raises more questions than gives you answers, basically. Like, because I will admit that, like, when this starts happening, like, there's parts of me where I'm sitting there thinking to myself, but how does that work? Like, wait, back up for a second. Wait, explain that again. And it's kind of like they just explain it really quickly, and then they go on, and you're kind of like, well, how did that work out? How did that happen?
So, yeah, like, I enjoyed this movie a lot. It was very enjoyable. It was upbeat. It was fun. It's the sort of thing I'm looking for, especially since usually we see our movies at night. This was in the middle of the day. It was a nice way to, you know, kind of get the energy going and get you to look forward to your day. And I enjoyed that. And again, we mentioned out loud in a review how, like, you know, most of the movies we've seen together this year, you know, mediocre at best, forgettable, all sorts of things. So this was better than that, and I encourage you to see it if you want something fun, action-filled, you know, just a good popcorn entertainment. That being said, it is popcorn entertainment, and I don't want to put too much importance on it. I don't want it to sound like it's, you know, some amazing, you know, must-see, like, event. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My overall thoughts are, to me, this is a great, entertaining film. Basically, this film doesn't lie to you. It doesn't try to be something that it didn't advertise. That it advertised it being. It's exactly what it advertised. It's giant fucking robots fighting giant fucking monsters. Like, that's the fucking movie, and it does it extremely well. The action sequences are really good. John Boyega is very charismatic and very likable, and his character is a lot of fun to watch. The young female actress also gives a great fucking performance, and she's a very likable character, and they have good chemistry together. And the one thing I didn't mention earlier that I'll just mention really quickly here is the one strong suit about this film is I think the main characters in the film, the ones that we mainly follow, are more interesting than in the first film, than the characters in the first film. But I will say that the first film, though, the side characters are far more interesting than the side characters in this film. I absolutely love this film. I wouldn't say I think it's better than the first film, but for a sequel, it's very, very good. It doesn't surpass the original, but it definitely builds upon a future franchise that you could see basically continuing. And that's what basically they were looking to do, and I think they did it well. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I'm definitely going to say, you know, if you're interested in this film, and even if you didn't even see the first film, I'd say go watch it. He never saw the first film. He followed it pretty well.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, like anything that does carry over from the first movie, like other than unimportant things, like they do actually explain. Like so, yeah, like as long as you're paying attention, you'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's do it for that. So to recap, we both give Pacific Rim Uprising a 7 out of 10. Definitely say go check it out. With that, I'm going to say please thumbs up the video if you like it. Please subscribe to our channel, and please leave a comment. Let us know what you guys thought of Pacific Rim Uprising. Don't really know what we'll be back with. I know there's things that are coming out. There's stuff that I'm pretty sure we're probably going to go see, but I just don't know exactly what yet. Next week is Ready Player One, and I don't know if we're going to go see that or not. After that, I struggle to even try to think of what else is coming out soon.
Until next month, yeah.
Yeah, and I know next month, obviously we have Avengers, but that's near the end of the month. And the only other thing next month I know I want to see is the one film that we kept seeing fucking trailers for forever, and that's The Quiet Place.
Oh, okay.
I really want to see that, mostly just because it's been getting really, really great reviews, because it was shown at a few like film festivals and shit, and they were saying it's really, really good. So probably be back with that. Maybe we'll be back with Ready Player One, but I don't know. Either way, we'll be back with something. I'll be back solo by myself for my review for Game Night and Early Man, because I saw that with my wife, and Dan was not with us, unfortunately. So I'll be back with those two. Him and I, maybe we'll be back with Player One. We'll be back with something eventually.
Yeah.
So with that, I'm going to say, have a good one.